Hello and welcome to Word for All Season. The message you are about to hear will transform your future and destiny. The Word of God is living and powerful. The principle Pastor Matthew is going to share a proven principle in the circle of life. It has transformed millions of people's life and it could change you too. Life principle never change. Methods may change but principle remain the same. So here is Pastor Matthew.
So today I wanted to talk to you about positive parenting, how to discipline the children. Now disciplining the children, it's a global issue. We read in the papers about child abuse, the children committing suicide because they've been spanked, they've been disciplined in the wrong way. And if you travel across to the West, you see that child discipline has gone to another extreme where parents have no more control over the children, where the children have control over the parents. And I come across parents who are really scared of their children and parents who are worried. And I have come across children who are threatening parents, "Mama, what's the magic number? Should I call the number?" And when you come to the East, there is so much of child abuse. Child has been hit, child has been beaten up, child has been treated without any respect, and children are treated as something smaller or as little, maybe less than an animal. So disciplining child in a positive way help the child to be developed as a smart child. Disciplining child in a negative way, like spanking and hitting and using insulting words and abusive words, may make your child as a good child, but he can become a dumb child, or he can grow up with lots of revenge and bitterness and lack of self-confidence and various kinds of problems. So let's look into discipline aspect of children today. How you going to discipline a child? Yeah, you have a right to spank the child, but in a positive and constructive way. And whenever you make an action in your life, it's so important that you got to sit and think about the consequences and after effect. It's always good to ask why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's always good to ask what is the result this so-called action of mine is going to make. So without planning, without thinking, taking action is more of responding to the situation rather than leading a life with a purpose. So when you look at the children, every parent agree with me that you love your children and you believe that the children are your most important asset, and you would go all your way, all out of your way. And you will work hard, you will make everything possible to give a good food and good clothing for your child, and every parent wants a good future for your child. And though we have all this good aspect, we yet land up doing things wrongly. It's not because we are evil or we are wicked, it's just because we really don't know what to do. So today morning I'm talking to you about the importance of positive parenting. What kind of damage it can make when you hit a child or when you spank a child. In 29 countries in the world, spanking a child is totally illegal, even in the home. In 113 countries, it's prohibited, the corporal punishment in the schools. But in past several years, many psychiatrists, many educators, many researchers have strongly recommended that spanking a child will not solve any problems. It in fact makes the problem worse. When you deal with the children, you must remember that every child have a right as much as an adult. A child have a right for education, right for survival, right for development, and right for food, and a child has a right just as much as any other adult. And somebody said child is a father of an adult. There is so much an adult can learn from a child. A child have equal right like you and me. Most of the time you hit or spank the child, it's because you lack respect for the child. You don't treat child as a person whom you need to respect. I want to tell you one thing, you better learn to respect the children, because another 20 years go down, you are going to be an old man or old woman, and this child is going to be young and energetic, vibrant adult. Better you learn to treat them well. The more better you can treat them, more better they are going to treat you back in the days to come. And when you study about the child rights, you must remember one thing, every child must have a chance to know and ask questions why, what, when. A child has a right to know what's happening around him, what is the reason for it. A child must have a chance to think over his life and his situations rather than things have been forced into his life. A child must have a chance to express his feeling, explain what he goes through and react to the situation. As much as you have a right to express your views and opinions, a child also must have a right. When you look into the spanking or child discipline, when you discipline a child in the wrong way, you abuse the child physically, emotionally and mentally. In all those cases, the child grew up with an unhealthy attitude in his life. A father who smokes cigarette, he cannot say to the child, I'm telling you not to smoke. A father who comes drunk in the night and can't tell the child in the morning, you cannot drink, it's bad. I hear some parents say, son, I made a mistake, you make sure you don't make the mistake. The child will turn around and say that, yeah, like you had your chance, it's my turn, and like you made a mistake, let me also make the mistake. So that's ridiculous to say to somebody to do something which you don't do. It's ridiculous to say to a child not to smoke when you are smoking. When you talk about this so-called bad behavior, it's not a bad behavior, it's just child is responding to the situation that's around them. So let's look into the hitting the child. What are the bad impact it's going to make in child's life? Number one, a hitting children teaches them to become a hitter or become a Hitler. What you give out or what you put in is what is going to come out. So extensive research around the world shows most of the criminals, most of the children who become criminals, they had a past history of being beaten up or gone through several corporal punishment, or they grew up in a very, very negative situation. When you show an aggression or a violent behavior to children, that's what they are going to learn. It's so confusing for a child. The same hand you put and pamper them or carry them, or you touch them on the cheek and to say I love you or what a good boy you are, the same hand turn around to hit them. It's confusing for a child. So if you use the same hand to give and to hit, next time when you lift the hand, the child really don't know what are you going to do. So you give such a negative message, or you say good words, my son, my darling, or whatever you say. Then the same mouth he used to use the word, you are a stupid fellow, you are an idiot, you are a dumb fellow, and what a useless fellow you are. When you use all these negative words, you keep on using negative and positive words to the children. Children really don't know what to believe. So after a period of time, child stops believing what you say. As a result, when he grows up in a teenage, when you face crisis and when his body starts developing, he has all kinds of physical and emotional needs, he will not come to you for counsel, he will go to his friend or maybe some wrong people whom you don't want your children to communicate. If you wanted to win the confidence of your child, you make sure you give them a steady, direct, positive communication. In many cases, the so-called bad behavior of the child is not a bad behavior at all. It's the child is reacting or responding to the situation in the only way which he knows. Now when you talk about the child discipline, a child can understand most of the things from the 6th month of his age. He can read his mother's emotions, he can read the situations around. If you wanted to really discipline your child in a positive way, you must start disciplining your child as young as possible. From the age of 6 months, you can start disciplining your child. You can talk to the child, because child relate to you well and you can relate to the child. But I have seen some parents, that time when the child is mischievous or crying or rebellious, when they come to 1 year, 2 year, some parents tend to enjoy their rebellious nature or their mischievous nature. When the child becomes 21, when he acts mischievous or rebellious, you are trying to correct, it does not work. It does not work. So you must start disciplining your child the earlier as possible, but with a positive approach. Whenever you deal with a child, your no should be no and your yes should be yes. So child is very clear that what he can expect from you as a parent and what's his responsibility as a child. When you talk about the bad behavior, most of the bad behavior come out as a result of neglect, as a result of lack of time parents spending with the child, as a result of the abuse they went through. It just is trying to gain your attention. Most of the children who has bad behavior, it's not the behavior that they born with. Look at a newborn child, he's innocent, he's lovely, everybody loves a newborn child. But if the child grew up to a bad behavior, who has to be blamed? It's not the child has to be blamed, it's the parent that has to be blamed. It's the child become according to how you treated him, how you disciplined him. Many a time, it is not the child who needs the spanking, it is the parent who needs the spanking, because the parent is responsible. If you don't want to take the responsibility, it's better you don't have the children. When you get married, when you think of having the children, it's good for you to read some good books on children and how child pregnancy and the childbirth, the disciplining of the child. There are hundreds of books available in the market. I remember when I got married, I was telling in a meeting, I was invited as a couple, and I told them, please pray for me. I don't know how to be a husband because I got married for the first time. I'm not an expert. And I told my wife, look, in case you come across bad behavior from me, please help me to sort it out, because I'm not an expert as a husband because I'm married for the first time. So when you have the children, you've got to remember, you're also not an expert, so you need to read books, you need to listen to others, you may need a family counselor, you may need to learn the positive parenting. Many a time the parents hit the children just because they do not know any other way. Many a time the bad behavior of a child, maybe it's due to lack of proper sleep, lack of nutrition, maybe some hidden allergy, maybe lack of fresh air, maybe lack of exercise, or maybe insufficient freedom. The child is not having enough freedom to explore his world. When you deal with the children, the greatest need a child has is the undivided attention from his parents. You as a parent, you need to spend time with your children. If you are so busy in making money, and if you know that you have no time to spend with the children, then please do a favor for the humanity, don't make the children. When you make a children, don't spend time. And when you raise up a children in a bad behavior, in a wrong attitude, you are building a liability for the society. Your child is going to be a headache for the community. You make the child to become an asset for your family. You make sure that when you have a child, when the child grows, you want to lift your head up. You want to keep your head up. You want to be proud of your children. If you are a parent, you agree with me that you love sitting somewhere and watching your child grow. So every parent loves his children. The so-called bad behavior of your child is a result of his frustration. You as a parent is responsible to help him. When a child behaves badly, you as a parent or you as a teacher, you cannot hit the child because of his bad behavior, because he is not responsible for it. His parent is responsible. Many a time the parent is the one who needs spanking and correction and scolding rather than the child. If you are a teacher or a parent, I want to tell you, when you correct the child, please don't scold the child. Please don't ridicule the child in such a way that the child's esteem go down. In a way that child feels so humiliated. Don't do that. So when you beat a child or when you punish a child, you stop the child from thinking constructively about his life situation, how to solve and how to solve the conflict or how to handle his problems around his little world. It may not be as fancy as yours, it may not be as big as yours, but for him it's really big. So allow him to handle his problem. When your child loses temper and says something very loud or something that you really don't like, instead you shout back, why don't you take little patience and allow him to express? Talk to him about it. When you punish a child's mind becomes occupied with thoughts of revenge or bitterness or anger. To spank the child, you are filling child's mind with the revengeful thoughts, with the bitterness, with the depressed feeling, which stops the child from thinking positively and constructively. A punished child learns very little about how to handle or how to prevent the problems in his life. I'm not saying that you should not spank the child at all. I'll come to that later. There is a place where you can spank the child. There is a place where you can discipline a child. But you should never discipline a child when you're angry, when you're disturbed. Whenever you think you need to discipline a child, you sit somewhere quietly, take a little time, think about how you're going to handle the situation. So if your child behaves badly, or if your child does something that you really don't like, before you address it, it's worth for you to check why he did what he did. Take a little time to check about it and ask yourself, am I being a reason for the child to misbehave? And then think about how I can handle this situation. Then call the child, sit with the child, Discuss with the child. This particular behavior you have is totally unacceptable. Allow him to talk about it. Then you reply. I'll tell you, when you talk to a child one-on-one, 9 out of 10 children will respond to you positively. There may be a place where you need to spank your child because pain works sometimes. I know not everybody agree with me for that. But if ever in case you spank your child, in case, I say in case, I'm not advocating spanking at all. In case you spank your child, it's so important after that you sit with the child, spend at least 2 hours with the child or 1 hour. Talk to the child. It's all about communication. It's funny, you're very careful when you communicate with the people in your workplace. You're so careful when you communicate with people in your church or in your club. But when it comes to communicating with your children, you take them for granted, you don't listen to them at all, and then you claim that you love love your children. Some parents say to children, darling, don't you know that I'm working so hard for you? Child doesn't need your hard work, he doesn't understand. Child needs your time. I remember one lady whom I was counseling, and her son committed suicide. He started taking drugs, and at the end he committed suicide. And his mother was working in the Gulf, and she came back. She lost her mind. She's screaming and yelling. She showed me a letter which her son sent to her. The last letter her son sent, asking, Mama, are you staying there to make money, to make a gold profit for me? She was telling me that he sent several letters asking her to come back. Mama, I'm feeling so lonely. Mama, I'm lonely. I'm feeling bored. Please come back. Mama was working in Gulf to make money so that my son will not have to have the suffering like I had. Then she opened the cases and cases of bed sheets, clothes, crockeries, cutlery. She said, these are all I bought for my son. When I build a new house for him, I want his house to be full of things for him good. But she said, I'm sitting in the middle of all these things, totally desperate and lonely. I even bought clothes for the children he's going to have. So when you deal with the children, you will remember what is the most important that child need is not your money, it's not your hard work, it's your time. So when you discipline a child, when you beat a child, it interferes the bond relationship between the parent and the child. When your child is born, there is a bond developed between the child. Do you know that when your child was small, you are the hero of the child? No matter whatever situation your child was, the presence of his parent made the child so secure. When a small child faces any danger, what does she say? She cries, Mama or Dada. When a child is carried by her parent, the child thinks, I'm totally safe. Child has no fear. But as the child grows up, if you have abusive way of disciplining, child lose the confidence in you. That bond is broken. So now when the child faces difficulty, either the child becomes fearful or rebellious, or the child finds confidence in somebody else. Now you as a parent, you tell me, do you want your child to be confident in you or somebody else? I'll tell you, no parent like to hear that my child is not confident in me but confident in my next door neighbor. So when you develop a child, if you develop in a positive way, there will be a bond. That bond will never break. Now many children, many parents beat the child or spank the child or have a negative kind of parenting because that's the kind of parenting they have learned in their childhood. You say, my parents beat me, I don't have any problem. I'm doing the same way. Friend, I want to tell you, we are living in a new generation. This is a different generation. This is a generation of individualistic, materialistic, aggressive generation. In this generation, it's called me culture generation. It's not about us, it's about me. In the olden days, we had very little information. Most of the so-called obedience or submission, it was not out of freedom, it was out of ignorance and slavery. In those days, people behaved in obedience to their parents because they did not know themselves. It was based on ignorance. But today we live in a generation of information. And there is a tremendous peer pressure on your child. Listen to the conversation children have today and try to remember the conversation you had when you were in your childhood. It's totally different. The things that you could never even dare to imagine in your childhood, your children are doing it now. So if you want to be a smart parent, you must learn the methods of parenting. You as a parent, it's a high time for you to learn positive parenting. Think about your child's future. Everything possible do for them to make them as a smart, capable children. Beating your children is not an answer. Responding your child's bad behavior is not an answer. If you beat a child, he is going to be a beater. If you hit a child, he is going to hit her and later to be a Hitler. If you scold a child all the time, you're dampening the spirit of the child. And then you expect your child to do well. I'm sorry, your child will not do well. So I want to challenge you from today. Talk to your children positively. Don't spank or hit your child at all. Next time when you get angry with your children or with your child, don't do anything. Just sit down. Think about it. Why did my child did what he did? How can I help him to change? I'm sure you will come across many ways how to change. You know, I was taking a class in Trivandrum on stop hitting children, and I asked the children, if Mama get angry with Dada, what will she do? They said she hit us. If Dada get angry with Mama, what she do? Children said that he beat me. Most of the time, the child becomes the victim of the anger of Mama and Dada. Don't use your children as a punching pad or a bouncing ball for your emotions. Your responsibility to bring your child in a godly way, in a good way. Your responsibility as a parent is to bring the child in a healthy, constructive way where the child becomes a responsible citizen who will make a change in this world. I will tell you, if you develop your child in a positive way, in the days to come, you can be proud of your children and your children will look after you. Your children will have great regards. Being respected by your children is the greatest honor that you can ever think of. So I want to wish you all the best today, that you will become a positive parent. You will have a healthy relationship with your child, that you will love your child and your child will love her. Your child will think world of you as a parent. You as a parent, work hard to develop positive approach. You need to work hard in your home, much more than you work in your workplace. The greatest asset you can have is your children. Your children are more important than your cars, your business, your buildings, your home, more than anybody else in the world. God bless you. Learn to love your child in the positive attitude and nurture your child in a positive way where your child will become a wealth to this world. Your child will contribute great things for this world. Your child become a crown of the society. Thank you.
I hope this message has blessed your life. You are welcome to join with us for a lively praise and worship at Emerald Lawns every Sunday at 11 a.m. Come, join us and enjoy the power of changed lives. Once you meet Jesus, your life will never be the same again. Jesus is the answer for all your problems. When God works in you, you are a winner. I believe you are blessed by the message that you have heard today. We are working constantly to make a change in our community. Come and support our charity called El Shaddai Street Child Rescue, rescuing thousands of children from the streets and slums of India and making them responsible, confident citizens of the nation. For more information, please visit our website www.childrescue.net. We are looking after hundreds of children through our children's home, shelters, and community care centers. You can help a child go to school by paying Rs 800 a month, or you may support a child in our homes by paying 1,500 a month. Feel free to come and volunteer with us to help the poor and needy. Thank you and God bless you.